Hello there. Welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adriana Atkinson. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot in store, starting with the news of the day. Stick around.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan, and this is your JS News for Monday, July 29, 2024. Both houses of Parliament have now approved legislation allowing government to provide an income tax credit to individuals who acquire and install solar power at their primary places of residence. The Income Tax Amendment Act 2024 was passed in the Senate on Friday after receiving the approval of the House of Representatives on July 9. The bill will next go to the Governor-General for his signature before it is gazetted and made law. Minister of Finance Dr. Nigel Clark, who tabled the bill in the lower house, explained then that individuals could apply for an income tax credit worth 30% of the cost of their domestic solar photovoltaic system up to a maximum cost of $4 million.
This means that the maximum credit an individual will be allowed to claim is $1.2 million. This measure shall apply to solar photovoltaic systems acquired and installed on or after the 1st of January 2023, i.e. for the year of assessment 2023. The value of the income tax credit will be applied to the acquisition and installation price of the solar photovoltaic system and will be claimable in the year the system is installed.
Minister of Information, Skills and Digital Transformation, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, piloted the legislation in the upper house. During Friday's debate, she reiterated that it was part of a much broader goal of reducing the country's dependence on fossil fuels and, in turn, energy costs.
By reducing energy costs, we can improve the quality of life for Jamaicans and increase disposable income, which in turn stimulates other sectors of the economy. This can lead to the establishment, importantly, of new industries, providing high-quality jobs and enhancing our technical capabilities.
Approximately 600 persons are expected to benefit per year from the tax relief, amounting to approximately $100 million. In order to claim the credit, each taxpayer will have to provide proof, such as invoices, and independent verification that the solar photovoltaic system is installed and generating electricity. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has launched a pension relief fund, offering one-off payments of up to $150,000 to pensioners impacted by Hurricane Beryl. This is to assist with urgent needs such as medical emergencies or basic necessities. To qualify for this relief, individuals must be Jamaican citizens who are retirees receiving a pension or gratuity from the Accountant General's Department. To apply, pensioners must submit a written request to the Pensions Administration branch and provide detailed documentation of their need. A client services officer will then investigate their needs by visiting the provided address and reviewing an income and expenditure report. For more information, pensioners are encouraged to contact the Pensions Administration branch via email at pensionsclientservices@mof.gov.jm. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security has provided additional relief items to affected households following the passage of Hurricane Beryl. Minister Pernell Charles Jr. gave an update during last week's sitting of the House of Representatives. He revealed that almost 12,000 food packages and 500 cases of water had been distributed. These were in addition to approximately 989 mattresses, nearly 2,000 hygiene kits, and 1,925 tarpaulins to protect householders experiencing roof damage.
In addition, the parishes of Clarendon and Manchester were provided with additional supplies, including mosquito nets, bags of detergent, and 3 cases of hand sanitizers.
Minister Charles Jr. is calling on Jamaicans to assist in identifying persons who were affected by the hurricane and have not yet been assisted or assessed by the ministry's teams. They can reach out by contacting the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's offices or by calling the Customer Contact Centre at 876-922-8000 to 13. The Ministry of Education is giving priority attention to the repair of key classrooms and essential areas as it addresses schools that were severely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams emphasizes that while not all repairs will be completed by September, focus will be on the spaces most critical for students' return. The minister gave an update during a recent tour of impacted schools in St. Elizabeth.
We want to commend the principals who've gathered their parents together to begin the cleanup of the school, because that is important to get the mindset back and to get persons thinking again about school reopening and so on. But I know from the perspective of the Ministry of Education and Youth that we have to begin, like yesterday, the major work that is needed.
Minister Williams highlights that the most extensive damage was to school roofs. During the visit, Principal of Monroe College Mark Smith expressed appreciation for the minister's involvement and provided an update on his school's repair progress.
It is very heartening to have the minister visit with our team, and we got some good news that a contractor has been selected, and the contractor will be meeting with us before the end of the week, and that gives a lot of focus on what needs to get done so we can really get down to the business at hand.
Hurricane Beryl is estimated to have caused approximately $2.7 billion in damage to 309 schools. And finally, a Memorandum of Understanding MOU has been signed between the Ministry of Sport and the People's Republic of France towards enhancing sports collaboration. The aim is to foster the exchange of programming experience, best practices, skills training, performance research, and technical expertise in both countries' sports sectors.
Such a friendship in the international discourse supports an environment which both preserves and promotes the integrity of sport. It reflects positive governance and allows for accessibility for all persons whose lives are impacted by sport.
The agreement was signed on July 24 at the Ministry of Sport office in Kingston.
We have great expectations with this MOU. We wish to develop sport and science, which is very important. We could develop some practices which are not already existing in Jamaica. For instance, fencing. Professor Shamela is involved in fencing, judo, rugby, also sailing, dinghy sailing, which could be very interesting in Jamaica.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets, and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers, and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding.
Inflation is an important part of the economic matrix that businesses, consumers and policymakers pay special attention to for various reasons. We are starting our features journey with a look at the May inflation rate of 5.2%, which is within the 4 to 6% targeted range by the central bank, and explore measures by the bank to keep inflation in check.
Hello, I'm Elan, and thanks for joining me on Inflation Watch, where Bank of Jamaica highlights the factors that influence price movements in Jamaica. At April 2024, headline or annual inflation, which is the general rate of increase in the prices of goods and services as measured over a 12-month period by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, was 5.3%. This is excellent news, as it marks the second consecutive month since October 2023 that inflation has remained within BOJ's inflation target range of 4 to 6%, which is where we want it to be. Inflation at April 2024 was primarily driven by increased prices for fruits, as well as more expensive cereal and cereal products, including cornflakes, biscuits, and other pastries. This was partly offset by a decline in vegetable prices. The inflation outturn also continued to reflect higher public passenger vehicle fares from the increase implemented in October 2023. Increased electricity rates in April also influenced inflation over the period. The increase in the general price level at April 24 was lower than the 5.6% point-to-point inflation recorded at March 2024. This deceleration resulted mainly from lower rates of increase in prices for food and non-alcoholic beverages. The inflation number at April was also lower than the high point of 11.8% recorded in April 2022. Very importantly, this lower inflation at April was also supported by BOJ's tight monetary policy. That policy includes reducing Jamaican dollar liquidity in the financial system, holding steady at 7% the policy interest rate. That's the interest rate paid by BOJ on the current accounts that deposit-taking institutions have at the central bank. And 3, maintaining a relatively stable foreign exchange rate, which in turn continued to reduce the impact of imported inflation. Now that you are up to date on the factors that influenced the inflation rate at April 2024, let's check in with my co-host BJ. He will tell you how information about prices is collected to measure inflation.
What's up? BJ in the house. I always want to say that. So, inflation is a measure of how your cost of living is changing. When Statin want to measure cost of living changes, they collect prices for things like rice and chicken because those prices tell what your cost of living is. How they collect those prices to measure inflation? Prices for things like petrol and farm produce are collected 2 times a month because of their sometimes unpredictable price changes. Other prices like school fees, they collect every 3 months. Prices for other goods and services are collected once a month in all 14 parishes in the island, which they break down into 3 regions: Greater Kingston Metropolitan Area, other urban centers, and rural area, so they can measure inflation for all Jamaica and by region. Collection of prices is focused in areas where people do most of their shopping and spend money on services. So, if most people in Kingston buy at Carnation Market or at Charles Garden Market in Montego Bay, prices are collected in those places for the items in the CPI basket that we talked about the last time. Statin ensures that the price recorded is for the same amount of goods or services all the time. You know, a bakery might cut the size of bread from 2 pounds to 1.5 pounds, but the price in the CPI must always be for a 2-pound bread. If you buy something on sale, it is a sale price that is used. If bus fares change, like when fares increased in October 2023, the new fares are used. The prices are checked for correctness before calculating the figures for inflation over a month or a year, and to see if prices and your cost of living move down or up. Well, my time up. Next time.
That was very useful information, BJ. And that's a wrap for Inflation Watch this month. Join us again next time when Bank of Jamaica will bring you another episode of Inflation Watch, where we track inflation and explore the factors influencing price changes in Jamaica. I'm Elan. Until then, take care.
Join us next month on Inflation Watch to see what the inflation number will be.
Hurricanes can be dangerous, catastrophic events, but we can lessen the damage if we are prepared. Keep up to date with the latest information from reliable sources such as the Meteorological Service and ODPEM. The power will probably go with the internet following, so a good old battery-operated radio is a must-have. Stock up on non-perishable food items and emergency items such as flashlights and extra batteries. Secure important documents. Have a pre-packed emergency bag with safety gear such as raincoats and water boots. Ensure windows are protected and roofing is secured. have updated information on emergency shelters near you in case you need to evacuate during the storm. Preparation will lessen the devastation when dealing with a hurricane. Be prepared.
We are very much still in the hurricane season, and we will be until November 30. While we have no control over this weather event, we can control our response to allow for a less worrisome ride through the storm. Our next feature provides some health advice and tips to help secure your well-being and that of those among us who are more vulnerable.
Food, clean water, and medication are among the important things to secure when you're preparing for severe weather conditions, such as a tropical storm or hurricane. Pay attention as we share a few useful tips on these, as well as advice for pregnant women and persons with chronic illnesses. Persons with chronic illnesses such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and asthma are reminded to have an adequate supply of medication on hand. If they have to evacuate their homes, they must ensure that they take their medication with them to the place of shelter. They should continue to take their medications as prescribed by the doctor while away from home. Having an igloo with ice for medication needing refrigeration is recommended. Also, persons with chronic illnesses must keep regular eating and medication schedules and ensure they have received adequate nutrition and hydration. If a storm is on the way, medical experts recommend that all pregnant women who are within 1 month of their delivery date should relocate to family or friends who are in close proximity to a hospital or delivery center. If you must evacuate your home when disaster threatens, certain items should be taken with you. Medical supplies, including over-the-counter and prescription medications, dentures, and first aid kit items such as bandages and rubbing alcohol. Also take along basic disaster supplies, including flashlights, batteries, radio, and bottled water. You'll also need clothing and sanitation supplies, such as diapers, toilet tissue, soap, and feminine hygiene products. Keep a bag with supplies for the emergency evacuation from your home. This should include only non-perishable items and special foods like baby formula. And while these are not strictly for health purposes, it's also recommended to travel with important family documents like birth, marriage, death certificates, passports, land titles, and immunization cards, as well as games, books, and other items for your entertainment. With the threat of power outage and water shortage during or following a storm, food safety takes an added importance. Do not store food items with chemicals such as kerosene, bleach, detergents, and insect sprays. Do not purchase food from tins which have signs of dents, bulges, or other damage. Keep food in a dry and cool place. And store sugar, flour, rice, and crackers in their original packages or in tightly closed containers. Lock-offs are likely in a storm. Plus, flood rains can wash sediments into the water supply. So, store water for domestic use in a clean, covered container. Ensure the lid fits tightly to prevent mosquito breeding. Do not use containers that have previously stored harmful chemicals. Use a clean container with a handle to dip up water from storage. Treat the water with bleach or by boiling for safe use. For further information and health advice to prepare for severe weather conditions, please contact the Ministry of Health and Wellness's Emergency Operations Center at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. Or visit www.mohw.gov.jm.
Dear adventure seeker, let Jamaica be your playground of exploration. If you're a thrill seeker, paragliding might just be your fit. Or if you're a nature lover, go for a hike and explore the beautiful flora and fauna. If you're someone looking to break a sweat, grab your bicycle and go for a ride. Discover the adventures that await you in Jamaica. Your perfect escape is just around the corner.
Next on the pages of Jamaica Magazine, we are exploring how the government is eliminating urban blight and renewing our towns.
Raymond Poyser, Acting Senior Director for Urban Renewal and Development. Urban Renewal provides the strategic direction towards the revitalization of our urban spaces. So it's really looking at strategies through policies, programs, and projects to see how best we can address the issues related to urban decay and urban blight in Jamaica. Our portfolio provides guidance and outlines clearly the government's effort towards the revitalization of our urban spaces, towns, and cities. The Urban Renewal and Development branch looks at the Urban Renewal and Development Program, which the branch has developed, as the roadmap towards a sustainable urban renewal program for Jamaica. And by that we mean the 12 initiatives, which we call the Urban 12 or the UR12, examine critical areas linked to the 5 pillars of urban renewal. That's physical, environmental, economic, social, and cultural. And these initiatives are linked to SDG, Sustainable Development Goal 11, which is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So with national development in mind, once we have these programs implemented, we're talking about the enhanced quality of life of our residents, all the users within the spaces. So it's residents and visitors of the spaces. So these spaces become attractive and pull people to them. Because as you know, the urbanization rate right now in Jamaica is they're about up 56%, and it's expected to increase in line with the global trend, especially given that Jamaica is a developing country. So we are seeing that Latin America and the Caribbean, and we are part of that region, has the fastest growing rate of urbanization globally. We have looked at installation of solar lights. There are some communities, as you know, they are not connected to the national grid, and they don't have access to street lighting. And so through this program, the Urban Renewal and Development Program, these communities would have benefited through the installation of solar lighting, and that improves safety and security. We would have looked at and implemented projects that focus mainly on community upgrading, beautification, and transforming the images of urban communities. And through that, we have done the zinc fence removal, because zinc fences not only are unsightly, but they pose a challenge to law enforcement and effective policing, and also for the smooth traversing of emergency vehicles in these communities. So once you remove these rusty corrugated zinc fences, what happens is that you are transforming the image and appearance of these spaces, and by therefore transforming the psychology of people, to appreciate and improve space of living. We have also looked at pocket parks and park upgrading. We would have addressed the issue of providing meaningful recreational and leisure spaces for persons to enjoy. And it's part of the wider scheme of environmental sustainability and making spaces inclusive and attractive. In June of this year, the Prime Minister would have made an announcement in Parliament about the Phase 1 of the Urban Renewal Development Program, by which all constituencies will be allocated $4 million to look at projects that will focus on installation of community signs and street signs, zinc fence removal, creation of pocket parks or park upgrading. And we are looking now at those projects. We are trying to accelerate the implementation of those projects so that our own residents and citizens across Jamaica can benefit. There are also 3 major parks that we are looking at in terms of upgrading. The Jagmayas Park in Black River, St. Elizabeth, the Neville Antonio Park in Port Antonio, and the Rudolph Elder Park in Morant Bay. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, is revitalizing the urban landscape and renewing communities for a better tomorrow.
Up next.
Everybody wants to know what the weather is or what the weather will be so that proper plans can be made and we can make sure that things are in place to handle it.
You know the adage, water is life? Rightly stated, as it supports all living beings. But with the passing of a hurricane, supply may be compromised and properly stored water could just become our lifeline. Step 1. It is best to use food-grade containers to store water. This means that the material used is fit for human consumption and won't have toxic substances entering your water. Step 2. Be sure to wash and rinse the container thoroughly in preparation for water storage. Step 3. After filling the container, be sure to seal it tightly. If it has a screw-on cap, ensure it's tightly closed. This will prevent contamination. Step 4. Also, to prevent contamination, store water in a cool, dark place. This is to minimize exposure to temperature fluctuations, which can degrade the quality of the water and the container. Step 5. Replace stored water frequently to ensure freshness. You may use older water for non-drinking purposes. Step 6. Additionally, you may want to label the containers with the date of storage. This will help you keep track of how long the water has been stored. Step 7. Drinking water containing bacteria and viruses can lead to serious health issues and diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, or dysentery. If you're in doubt as to the state of your drinking water, you may want to apply water purification methods such as boiling to get rid of any bacteria. Step 8. Finally, going back to point number 1, do not store water in containers that have been used for chemicals or substances that can leach into the water and your system. Ensure that your stored water remains safe and drinkable. Protect your water, and it will protect you.
Our half-hour journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine ends right here today. But please join us again tomorrow on the same station for more news, features and information you can use. In the meantime, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Till such time, do take care and stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.